Welcome, team, to episode 82 of the Keep Going podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. This is your co-host, Luke Wheat, coming out of Alcoa, Tennessee right here. Pat, where are you coming out of, buddy?
Yeah, man, I'm on my back porch.
Nice.
Just had to flip my left contact in and out about 14 times. And that's okay because I'm mentally strong enough at this point on this Sunday morning to get through this. Marcy, what's up with you, girl? Three or four. What up, Marcy?
Hey guys, thank you for having me. I'm just in my office. We just moved, so I don't have anything hanging. We have stuff in boxes, but
nice.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
All good. Happy to have you. And David Mitchell is trying to join us live from Colorado. David, can you hear me? Can you hear me, David?
Yeah, I'm in. Can you hear me?
Oh, I got you.
The kid.
You look as handsome as ever, brother. How's it going out there?
It's good. I'm actually in Galena, Illinois for a wedding today. So I flew in and there is really bad service, so I apologize if I go in and out.
That's all right, Big Dave.
I have a feeling Dave's going to come in for some brief blurbs, and that's about it. And that's okay by me.
Yeah.
So all good. Well, in all seriousness, I'm super excited to have Marcy on today. You know, anytime we can get a former high-level D1 athlete on, especially West Coast representation, we'll take it. Marcy, hand up, before we go into anything vulnerability-wise, I really thought I messed up earlier in the week. I'm going to tell the listeners this. So I do a lot of social media stuff, and when looking for your name after putting up all the posts up to kind of get more things out about you, I'm like, I totally butchered this lady's name. I felt so bad. And then I realized, no, she just got married, man. I was like, oh, I'm the biggest idiot for that. So my lesson to start off the episode is, if you think you screwed up, just do some more fact checking. That's all I got. Luke, what's up with you,
Dig a little deeper. Just dig a little deeper.
Dig a little deeper. You're not that dumb. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I love that we got a lacrosse player on here. That's big for us. We haven't had a ton of lax representation, so always good to get that side of it on. And I know Marcy is competing in another sport that she'll talk to us a little bit about because I'm kind of fascinated with it. But no, it's great to have Marcy on. Marcy, we love to just start off the podcast with talk to us a little bit about why you think you're a great fit for this morning, because we know you. We're super excited to have you. Just talk to our listeners a little bit.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I just wanted to share my journey. It's a little unique. I grew up here in Orange County and played lacrosse. I got started a little later in life. I know East Coasters usually grow up with a stick in their hand, but I was a basketball player and someone recruited me, in the gym to go play lacrosse in middle school, which I did. And I took it up pretty quickly, and by my sophomore year in high school, I was a #1 goal scorer in the nation. And so, started focusing my goals on playing.
No big deal.
Yeah,
just right through that.
You skated over that.
Right
So, I was on a club team, and I put basketball on the back burner and started, focusing on playing in college. I was lucky that my club team actually had a good program to help get us ready for choosing a college, and when to contact coaches or going to camps or things like that. And the biggest thing I got from it was it was something called the broken leg test. So if you're choosing your school, if you were to have a career-ending injury, would you still love the school that you're going to?
Yeah,
love that.
Which is a big thing. I've seen a lot of people make that mistake. And so with choosing a college, I've been wanting to be a nurse my entire life. My mom was a nurse. That's what I grew up. I knew I wanted to do. I was just hoping to find a correct school that would let me do it. And during the process, I found that many schools were like, no, it's impossible. You can't do that. So you'd have to be a public health major, which nothing wrong with that. But I knew in the end game, there's no pro girls lacrosse team. So as I was going through the process, all these other top lacrosse schools said you couldn't do it. And eventually I found Fresno State. They were a new team, formed 4 years ago or 4 years before I got there.
Yeah.
No wins. They had no wins in 4 years. But they said, hey, you can, major in nursing. That's okay with us. Getting a scholarship. That was also great because nursing school is expensive.
That it is.
Yes. And so I was like, all right, great. I'm going to go to Fresno. And, that's how I ended up there. And it was a great experience.
No, love that. Love that.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Luke.
No, 100%. I think Fresno, like when you talk about the broken leg test and you talk about looking at schools for current athletes, that's something you need to be asking yourself, right? Because sports don't always go the way you anticipate. So having the foresight to think through, is this going to be right for me after school when I get my degree? Is this something that I need to be doing? I think that's a great thing for our athletes to hear, especially from an athlete that was a great athlete, top goal scorer in the country at one point. Like, that's a great thing to have in the back of your mind when you're looking at schools. 100%.
Completely agree. And I think I was one of those people that still in my current job, like I say that all the time, like if it feels like home, if you could spend time here without playing your sport, you're in the right place. I think from a mental health standpoint, no sport is worth your mental health at the end of the day. And from a performance standpoint for your struggles daily, like, yeah, there's normal things, normal triggers, but like it can't be something that takes over. And we talk about that identity piece all the time. Marcy, anything to add on that before we move on?
Not too much besides, going there. I mean, I don't know if you know how to get into nursing school, but it takes a couple years to get
Yeah.
into nursing school.
Yeah.
And I actually had a moment where the nursing programs are so competitive that I had 1B and the rest are A's, and I actually did not get in the first time.
Wow.
So I had to drive 45 minutes away to a community college. It was in chemistry. I had to take a higher chemistry to cancel out the chemistry I was taking.
Yeah.
And I basically was like, well, if I don't get an A in this and don't get in the program, and I was a sophomore in college, I was like, I got to go to another school because I can't spend another 2 years, switching my major and then eventually go to nursing school after that 2 years.
Yeah.
I
So,
know that.
but
Yeah, I know that nursing can be tough. Whenever I was recruiting at Tennessee Wesleyan back in the day, when I was working there, our nursing campus isn't even close to the actual school. So when we were recruiting soccer players that wanted to do nursing, we'd have to turn them away because of the hour commute. After that first initial 2 years, right? They'd be involved with the team every day, freshman, sophomore year. But it made it such a big hurdle junior and senior year. So
Yeah.
that's kind of some tough conversations that we had to have with kids back in the day. And if you're looking to do nursing currently, if you're a listener right now and you're looking to do nursing, just something to keep in mind, like Marcy had to whenever you were looking in schools.
Yeah. Marcy, can you stay on that for a second? I didn't know we were going to go here. I didn't know that was part of your story. Can you talk to our athletes about when they have an academic setbacks, like things that you did to kind of, besides driving the 45 minutes and doing better, like anything you did for your mental health around that time to not only get through that, but to get to where you're at now?
yeah, because I listened to a couple of your other podcasts, and that's
Thank
kind of
you.
my my
Thank you.
my keep going
Yeah,
moment.
appreciate that.
It was like a make or break it for me because lacrosse was important, and I wanted to keep playing and keep basically doing this thing that everyone said you won't be able to do. So
I love
that was
that.
like, I got to prove what I can do, and luckily, I did get in, and it took a lot of with my counselors, with my teachers, with my coach. I mean, I was lifting at like 5 a.m. before, going to clinicals or classes. And, everyone was very understanding. And I had the clear goal plan and being like, all right, I think this is what's going to take to make it work. And luckily, I was very lucky to be supported by a great group of people that helped me.
Yeah. Stay on that. Stay on the people part. Who got you through it? I know it sounds like a lot of self-auditing, a lot of self-reflection for you. So I want to touch on that too, but who helped you get through if you don't mind talking about it?
Yeah, I actually, my coach that recruited me, she was very supportive, and actually
Shout her
she
out.
left.
Shout her out.
Oh, Coach Beam.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, but actually she helped me like when I was recruiting me in high school, and actually the day I said on campus, she left. We got a different coach who I was like, hey, only reason I came here is because, she promised I could go here. And she was also supportive, Coach Giglio. And then I had a great counselor, Terrence Wan,
Nice.
who worked with me getting the classes that I needed to. I don't know about you guys, but there was study table.
Oh, yeah.
Where,
Okay. Yeah.
we had to go
I
to,
wasn't
but
allowed in those places. I was too loud for those places.
oh yeah, they actually had some great tutors that helped me get through some of those hard classes that I struggled with. So
Oh, yeah.
I found it really
Nice.
helpful.
Nice.
And yeah, all my teachers in nursing school, I remember one time I had a concussion. Um, and I was having a hard time going to clinicals, and my teacher was so understanding, you know. So I did
That's
what I
amazing.
could during that time, but yeah, everyone was great.
I love that.
Concussions are
Thank
tough.
you.
Ugh,
Yes,
yes.
agreed. Yeah, Marcy, thanks for sharing that. I think that's so powerful for our athletes and even our coaches that listen to this, because I think sometimes you get so caught up in the hustle and the bustle of your everyday life that, like, from a coaching standpoint, you don't really remember kind of what you went through, as weird as that is. And then for
Yeah.
the student athletes, that vulnerability and accountability to be like, okay, I quote unquote failed with a B. How do I persevere? Who do I lean on? And what do I do to get better? So I think it's strong to see you here with a smiling face today talking about that, because you would say that's your keep going moment, huh?
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
We
absolutely.
hit
that.
it
I
early.
love
We
that.
hit it early, but
I
I
love
like
it.
it.
I love it
Sorry,
too.
yeah, it was
No,
like
it's a
it
good
came
thing.
early. I needed to, yeah, get it done.
It's a
So,
good thing.
No,
It's a
I
good
like
thing.
that too. All right, so we get past lacrosse, right? You obviously get through nursing school, everything's good. Fast forward to the end of your career, starting your professional career, and kind of just roll with that.
right. So being an athlete, I mean, I always saw, you know, my teammates going into surgery. I've always knew I wanted to be in the operating room. So as soon as I went back to Orange County, I started working at an orthopedic specialty hospital as a operating room nurse. Pretty quickly, I saw, you know, a nurse practitioners assisting in surgery. They scrub in, they close. I was like, all right, that's my next step. So I immediately went back to school to do that. And the operating room is amazing. It's a different team environment. So
Yeah.
everything I learned in college helps me so much at work every day. There's actually a bunch of us who are student athletes. So
Yeah.
volleyball players, baseball players, football players. So it's, you know, a great dynamic between all the different specialties, because I got to work with an anesthesiologist, the surgeon, the scrub techs, you know,
Yeah.
OR nurses. So, you know, that's part of my everyday. And yeah, I work for a knee and hip replacement surgeon now. So, which is great because you see people, you don't realize how important your mobility is.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just, you know, 80 and 90-year-old that we're, you know,
Yeah.
giving them their life back, their quality of life. But, you know, we do hip replacements on 15 or 20-year-olds, done a knee
Wow.
replacement on the 30-year-old. So it's great to, you know, people are very grateful to get their life back and their mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Stay
that's
there. Go ahead, Luke.
No, 100%. I got two coworkers that just got a knee replacement about a week apart from each other, and they're like 4 weeks post-op now, and they've got kids, and they're over the moon with the change in their mobility and their ability to be with their family. It really helps their connections, and it helps their mental health by getting them active again, by getting them in touch with people in their family that they've lost touch with because of their immobility. So that y'all are doing a great service to your community and the people that you work for sure.
No, I agree. And Marcy, that's something to be proud of, and everyone else in your field. I'm selfishly, I'm not surprised that it's former athletes that are in that field grinding every day, because
Yeah.
it's just it takes what it takes. I think for our athletes, like understanding, like you want to stay with common goal people, like people that have the same aspirations, the same goals, setting the same dreams. Talk about like when you do help out with those surgeries, when you're a team effort, when you go through that, the difference between when that athlete or when that person comes in and when they leave healthy. Talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen so many patients. I mean, they've been misdiagnosed for years, or people say, hey, you're too young to have a knee or hip replacement. But, you know, we call it a quality of life procedure. So,
Right.
you know, why wait another 20 or 30 years until you're that age where you can, you know, get the surgery? Or I've seen patients on, you know, they just give them pain medications still. And, when we do the surgery, patients, you know, usually get off of them right away because that's not a life to live either. So,
Right.
you know, it's just amazing. I mean, I've had grown men, you know, break down and, you know, get really
Yeah.
emotional in the
Right.
office, especially if some people are born with, you know, hip dysplasia. That's the way they're born, and they've been in this pain, and, you know, we'll replace both of their hips, and, you know, they're just so grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to give you
Absolutely.
your flowers there. I think that's crazy awesome that you do that for a living and the impact that you make. And I guess the last thing, and we'll move on from this, for athletes or even everyday people that are listening to the pod, anything that you'd recommend for younger people so they can kind of prevent this in the future?
Um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, taking care of your body, and it starts in college, like eating well, exercising. I mean, always the more movement you can get, the better,
Right.
no matter what age you are. And whether it's swimming or, just walking, we actually
Yeah.
have a saying for every pound you drop is 4 pounds off your joints. So it's more
Yeah.
than people realize. But, everybody's different. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and there's a lot of conservative treatments. You don't have to do surgery. We never, try to push that on anybody. We're pretty conservative. The surgeon I work with is a wonderful guy. I mean, he always says, he's treating patients, not X-rays. So,
Yeah, for sure.
it's
I like
surgery is
that.
not the right answer for everybody. So, I'm really fortunate to work with someone who's also, supportive of his patients and me. He's always, aspiring me to get to the next level.
I
Yeah,
love it.
very
So
nice.
talk to me a little bit about we transitioned from, athletics to your real world job. And I love the kind of comparison you use there with all the athletes you work with and being a team. Talk to me a little bit about your individual sport now. So I know you're riding horses. Tell the listeners what you're doing and how you've made that transition from a team sport to kind of an individual competition.
Right, and it's different, working with the animal versus some people. I
Yeah.
grew up riding horses, but I don't know if you guys know, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So my parents are
Yeah.
always like,
True.
yeah, I was very fortunate to grow up with people who needed their horses ridden. So, but my parents were like, well, if you want one, you need to get a job to pay for one.
Yeah.
So literally 2 months after starting my first job, I got a horse.
Okay.
And we do a discipline called dressage. So it's basically you're in an arena, you get a test with all these special movements or specific movements. The judge scores you. There's also, a musical competition side of it. But yeah, forging, a relationship with my horse. I got him when he was fairly young. We started at the beginning. We're, 2 levels away from the highest level now, but it's been a journey, working with something that has its own mind, trying to like
100%.
work as a team rather than you honestly can't be like, hey, you're gonna do this and this,
Yeah.
they have an opinion. So, but it's kind of my it just helps me after work to go to the barn, go through a routine. I mean, it's really relaxing for me away from the competition aspect. So I really enjoy it. It's good for my mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that's what I want to stay there because I think the way you described it is how you want any sport to be, right? It can be your escape and it can be something that you compete in. I think that's really cool because I think a lot of athletes are still searching for that. Um, and I think some of our athletes search for it in different ways. I know
Yeah.
vulnerability, once again, hand up. Me and Luke did. Like, we looked for different ways to compete and we looked for different ways to try to find that escape and try to find the new thing because we're not, Jackie Tripp used to talk about this all the time. Like, I'm not Pat the baseball player anymore. Like, Luke's not the soccer player anymore. So, like,
Yeah.
trying to find healthy escapes where we can still relax, have fun, and compete. I think it's very motivational. I think it's really inspiring. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
100%.
Oh, for sure, for sure. On the horse riding side of things, I have a couple questions too.
Mhm.
I need the name of the horses, and I need to know is it competing? I'm not very familiar with the horse racing side of things or the horse competing. So go ahead and tell me that.
Right. My horse's name is Simonetti, which is I don't know how the breeder came up with his name.
Fair.
I just call him
That's how
Simi.
I feel about a lot of horse names. So that's okay.
Yes, I
That's
agree.
perfect.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually got him when I was in Fresno. I
Mhm.
met a lady and she actually, of all things, before I was an OR nurse, she was 5 foot nothing. She got bilateral hip replacements. She wanted to jump the horse and the horse didn't want to jump. He didn't really like it.
Okay.
So he's also huge. I don't know if you know horse heights, but he's 18 hands high. So he's like, over, I guess, compared to a person like over 6 foot tall in the horse world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he's big. So, and I'm, 5'7", so he was better for me.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so we train and we go to competitions. I learn from a bunch of other trainers. I mean, I'm learning as he's learning, so it's not always the best, but, it's been quite a
Y'all are
journey
a team.
learning.
Y'all are a team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm about to
learning how
say.
to teach him rather than, some people get a horse that knows how to do everything. So it's been a journey, but it's been really fun. And there's also a community with that too. which was something I was really looking for after I was, done being a student athlete.
No,
Yeah,
fantastic,
100%.
Marcy. For fantastic stuff. I know this is usually where we go into the keep going moment. I know we touched on it a little bit prior. I want to go into some pop questions, Luke, and per usual, I'm going to have you start. Go ahead, my man.
Okay. Besides Dorsad, favorite equestrian event?
Oh, I love watching the cross country. You guys probably,
Okay.
I don't know, haven't seen that. It's basically where they get these huge jumps and they're out in field. They go through water. I
Yeah.
mean, it takes real guts for those riders to do it. I mean, I could
Is
not
that a
do it.
2 mile race? Mile race? Those are longer, aren't they?
Oh, I think it's even longer. I don't even know how many
Yeah.
miles, but those
Awesome.
horses are amazing and those riders
Yeah.
they got guts. So,
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
mhm.
Got it. All right, my question for aspiring student athletes that are looking to play high level Division One competition and also take a challenging major, what advice would you give them?
I would say just, being organized, convincing people that you have that desire to, want to be able to do it. Because even my husband was actually a football player at Fresno State, and he was a
Of
mechanical
course. And they had a
engineering.
nice little
Yeah,
program. Yeah.
Very
yeah, he was
nice.
a mechanical engineering major, and
Wow.
same thing with him. Just convincing people that you can do it. I mean, do it until you're proven wrong. Like, give me the chance.
Yeah.
I'm sure scores and personality, let that shine through. I mean, people can usually tell pretty quickly whether, how bad you want it. I mean, with anything, with work, or you're willing to put in the hours, willing to email, keep people in touch. When I was in high school, I would email every day, saying, hey, I went to this competition. This is how it went. This is how my grades are going. And
Yeah.
keeping that same in touch, checking in college. People really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my
That's
That's
something
one of
we've,
my favorite
yeah,
answers. Yeah, it's one of my favorite answers to that question. Go ahead, Luke.
absolutely. That's one thing we've talked about in the last month more than anything, I feel like, is just taking that step to reach out to somebody, because everybody wants to talk to somebody. Don't feel like you're being bothersome or anything like that. People will have a conversation with you, and they'll love to open up if you open up as well. Um, that kind of goes back to me, going back to your answer for Pat's question, the clear goals, right? I don't know if I really had clear goals going into college. I think I just wanted to
No
play
way.
soccer, and Pat,
No
that's
way.
kind of the situation you were in too. And Marcy finds herself in a way better situation than I did after the first year, second year of college, right? So having those clear goals, I think, is amazing, because when something didn't go your way, you were able to pivot and you knew what you needed to do to correct it. So I think that was something that I want every listener to understand, is if you can identify your goals, then you can achieve the goal. Right. So well done to Marcy, and well done with how you got through your education and now into your career helping people.
No doubt. I'll kick it back over to Luke for another question. But yeah, I think there's also, we talk about it a lot on this podcast. There's no shame in like leaning on people and having them not be what you need at that time. Like, I think people get like really intimidated and they kind of shut down when that first person they reach out to isn't their cup of tea for this situation. So I
Yeah.
think as you go on, Marcy, you probably found, I'm not going to quote you, but like you probably found other people in your corner that just didn't freaking get it. Like, just didn't understand what you're going through. Would you mind talking about that?
Oh, well, definitely. I mean, having a challenging major, I wasn't able to, go out and socialize as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
I think, it was hard for people to understand that. But to be honest, I mean, and I remember the first day getting on campus, there was another girl who'd been a nursing major and a lacrosse player, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like you definitely won't be able to do it. I wasn't able to do it, coming into
Oh,
that." So, or I think she was alumni, yeah, when I met her. But yeah, but for the most part, I've been really, really lucky to be supported by everyone, and my parents. I mean, my mom being a nurse, she's the most supportive person in my life, and she was a person I usually called when I was having a hard time. So
Yeah.
no, I get
yeah.
that. And I get it from a personal standpoint. Rockford was a big nursing school where I went to school. And I remember waking up, it was 8 a.m. on a Friday. And at Rockford, Thursday nights was the night, right? So you'd go out Thursday night. I woke up Friday for class. I'm sitting in the line at breakfast and I'm like, whatever, rubbing my eyes, trying to get a bagel and trying to get ready for the day, right?
Yeah.
And a girl turns around and looks at me and goes like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "I was getting some breakfast, long night last night." And she said, "What's your major?" I said, "I was going to school for PE and special ed." And she goes, "Oh, okay. Like, we're going through our nursing test right now, so I don't want to hear it." Something along the lines of that. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay. So
Yeah.
I understand that, like, in that moment, right, there was more going on. And it wasn't that poor girl's fault. She was stressed. It was a tough major. And she was almost envious of the fact that I went out the night before and, like, could just stroll over to the center and get some food. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
So,
no biggie. Yeah.
no, on a personal connection, I had a lot of nursing friends there that, like, it was hard. So I understand the grind that they were kind of going through for sure. All right, Luke, next question. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So for our student athletes out there right now, Marcy, talk to me about some characteristics that somebody looking into the nursing field needs. And talk about some times in your life that kind of reflected those. I know we talked about the chemistry thing already, that you had to go take another class. That's a little bit of grit, a little bit of determination. Is there anything else that a nursing major or somebody looking to get into nursing really needs?
I would say I kind of actually have a favorite word, and it's kind of silly, but it's I actually got a certificate for it in like third grade. I didn't even know what it means, but now like I
Nice.
live my whole life around it. It's the word conscientious, which
Okay.
is, basically putting your best foot forward, doing whatever is right, doing your best, whether it's work or your sport or, just being conscientious in everything that you do. It's something that I live by. And I think, um, it's kind of underrated word that you don't hear too very often.
Yeah, I love it.
And yeah, so just always putting your best foot forward is like the best, always doing your best when you can, or, even when no one's watching. That's the biggest part of it is like you're putting the hours of studying or practicing or weightlifting. So,
I
it's
love it.
Amazing.
tough to, do that all the time, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah.
For sure.
Marcy, I can just tell how calculated out loud of your life is. Like, it's really, really inspiring, like how organized and how I know it's probably not 100% perfect, but how you do things is very well thought out. And I appreciate that. Your answers are incredible to these questions.
So thank you guys.
Of course. I got one more question. This is a selfish one. Um, I'll be honest. So I'm recently engaged over the last month. And I'm engaged.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So I know a little bit about East Coast lacrosse because my fiance went to Stony Brook in Long Island.
Oh my gosh.
Talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
yeah. You know
We
the kind
lost
of
to them like
lacrosse.
0 to
I was about to say, I
27.
don't know if
Yeah.
that's
Oh
a
my
good
God.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh or a
Yeah,
bad one.
No,
that's a
they're
different
amazing.
level. That's a different level
Different
of
level. Yes.
lacrosse.
I
That
can't even
is.
compare.
Agreed. Here's why I'm asking the question though. My question is being married to another D1 athlete. Talk about the pros and cons of that.
Well, the pros is, he was just in a, similar situation I was. I mean, he was always studying. I was always studying. But, whenever we got an off day, I mean, it was simple as just going to a movie that was, kept us happy. Um, the cons, I mean, I would probably say he's just as A-type as I am.
Yep.
But, dealing with two people that are like that. But for the most part, I mean, he's also just as hardworking and, um, we did long distance for a while. He took a job in Florida and then he was in San Diego, which is, he commuted from here every day to do that. So,
Oof. Yeah.
we went through, a lot that way. But not too many cons. I mean, we were,
That's good.
lucky to have, yeah, found each other. I was lucky that he came back. I grew up here. He came back here to, live with me and found a job nearby. So, both of us are dealing with our, challenging jobs now. So we put in some long days, but, it's been worth it. And we both look back on our time in college and it was, the best time. And we try to get out there every year to go to a football game or something because,
Yeah.
he played with like Derek Carr, Devontae Adams. So we enjoy
Oh
watching
yeah.
them on the
Those
NFL.
are
You
some
guys,
names.
Yeah,
oh
I've
yeah,
never heard of them. Never heard of
yeah,
them.
Yeah.
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 Well, Aaron Judge was playing baseball when we were there. He's a good friend of mine. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's fun watching, some of our friends, we went on to do the academic side, but, watching some of our friends, be really successful was also super fun.
That's
Yeah,
funny. So
absolutely.
I didn't know. So usually, shameless plug. I was just trying to have you talk about your husband a little bit because we have a lot of guests that come on and like we get so wrapped up and they don't talk about their significant other. So I always try to bring that in. So he played with Derek Carr, played with Devontae Adams, and then you said Aaron Judge is a friend of yours and you were there when he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. Judge is having a great
Fresno,
year.
man.
Oh
Fresno's
yeah,
Fresno,
got
baby.
I
some
know.
names.
You
I
would
didn't even
never think.
realize. Yeah, I didn't know any of them went to Fresno State, but I know now.
Yeah, there's a
Amazing.
couple people. Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Well, hey, you never know what you're going to learn on a Sunday morning podcast at 3 a.m. California time. But no, in all seriousness, Marcy, we're happy to have you. I mean, we don't do a lot of podcasts where we both don't know the guest that's coming on. So like having you be vulnerable, talking about your experiences, I'm very grateful for having you on today. Luke, go ahead.
No, that's something I tell anybody who asks about the podcast. If I'm talking to a friend or somebody that doesn't know that me and Pat do this, that's the one thing that I talk about is the guest ability to be vulnerable in a space where they know a lot of people are going to be listening. Is not an easy thing to do. So we really appreciate you taking the time, and you're going to help a ton of people by doing this morning. Pat usually asks this, but I'm going to go ahead. We're trying to be better about it. What's one thing we can do for you, Marcy, after today?
I mean, just being on here, I just wanted to, being a student athlete, whether it's nursing or any specialty, I mean, it's tough and I think it's really important, especially, they've been, shedding some light on mental health for student athletes, especially the past couple of years and with COVID. And it's really important for people to know, with support, you can do it and talking and, nothing's impossible. So, I mean, it's great what you guys are doing here for student athletes. It's, a big part of your lives. It was a big part of my life. And even though it's not anymore, I just want to help other people. And so, just your podcast in general. I mean, when I found it, I was like, this is amazing.
Oh,
I've been
Thank
wanting
you.
to talk to people about it.
Thank you.
So being able to, and the questions you guys come up with and your positivity, I mean, it radiates. And
thank you.
so, yeah,
We
I mean,
appreciate that.
thank you guys. Yeah.
No, that was so genuine. I'm like literally tearing up. Like
I
I'm
love our
sorry.
guests for sure.
That makes me so happy because like we're just two dudes, and like before David came on, and back in the day we had Jackie. Like we went through a lot of crap, and I think there's a lot of healing going on every week on this pod. Not only us, but for our guests and for our listeners. So thank you, and thank you for reaching out. I mean, and I'm sorry it took so long. We have a lot of people like you that are awesome reaching out daily, and we never thought it was going to happen like this. So like this is a good opportunity to say how grateful we are for our guests and our listeners because it's 82 episodes in. We're very blessed. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Marcy.
Yeah. No, of course.
Well, sweet
Marcy, I'll
guys.
say this. Yeah, I was about to say, Marcy, I'll say this. I will wrap us up. Before we do anything else, we're 33 minutes in. Did you miss anything? Anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all. So just thank you for the opportunity, guys. And
no, of course.
I really appreciated
Yes,
it. Enjoyed talking to you.
Well, we appreciate you. And we're going to have you back on and maybe have hubby on for a little bit of a session. I would like to meet him and talk to him for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd be glad to come back on. So
all right. Perfect.
Thank you,
Perfect,
guys.
Well, above all else, keep going. Have a beautiful Sunday and maybe go back to bed out there, Marcy. I know it's a little bit early. So
yeah, go get some rest. Get people mobile again this week. Appreciate you, Marcy.
Thank you for all you do, Marcy. Appreciate you, girl. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Keep going.